The biggest lie about hard work. You worked all weekend. You answered emails at midnight. You skipped dinner with your family. You said yes when you wanted to say no. And on Monday morning, the person who left work at 5 o'clock got promoted instead. If that feels unfair, it's because you've been sold one of the biggest lies in modern life. A lie repeated by teachers, parents, managers, motivational speakers. A lie so common that most people never question it. Work harder, stay later, sacrifice more, and eventually, success will find you. Sounds reasonable until you look around. The hardest working people you know are often the most exhausted. The busiest people are often the most stressed. And sometimes, the people with the most freedom don't seem to be working the hardest at all. So what happened? Was hard work a lie? Not exactly. The truth is worse. Because hard work does matter. Just not in the way you've been taught. Meet Alex, 27 years old, ambitious, disciplined, the type of employee every company loves. First person in the office, last person to leave, always available, always reliable, always saying yes. For years, Alex believed effort would solve everything. Need more money? Work harder. Need a promotion? Work harder. Need a better life? Work harder. So he did. 60-hour weeks became normal, then 70, then 80. His friends stopped inviting him out. His hobbies disappeared. His weekends became extensions of Monday. His apartment became a place he slept, not a place he lived. But he kept going, because he believed it would pay off. Then one Tuesday night, everything changed. Alex was sitting alone in his apartment. The dishwasher rattled in the background. A half-finished dinner sat cold on the table. His phone lit up. Instagram. A former classmate. Same age. Same degree. Same starting point. Different life. The photo showed a beach. A laptop. A smiling face. The caption read, "Working from paradise this week." Alex stared at the screen, then looked around his apartment, then looked at his reflection in the dark window. And for the first time, he asked himself a terrifying question. What if I'm playing the wrong game? For the next few weeks, Alex couldn't stop thinking about that question. What if the rules were wrong? At first, he tried to ignore it. He told himself he was tired. He told himself he was comparing his life to someone else's highlight reel. He told himself social media wasn't real. And maybe some of that was true. But the question wouldn't leave him alone. So he started paying attention. Not to the people who talked the most. Not to the people who looked successful. The people who actually seemed free. And he noticed something strange. The people with the nicest cars were often worried about money. The people with the biggest houses were often stressed. The people who looked successful from a distance were sometimes barely holding everything together. Meanwhile, the people who seemed calm rarely talked about money at all. They weren't trying to impress anyone. They weren't chasing status. They weren't competing. It was as if they were playing a completely different game. One afternoon, Alex sat in the company cafeteria watching two co-workers eat lunch. One spent the entire meal complaining. Complaining about deadlines. Complaining about management. Complaining about not having enough time. The other co-worker barely said anything. He ate his lunch, read a few pages from a book, then quietly returned to work. 6 months later, the quiet co-worker received a major opportunity. The complaining co-worker didn't. And Alex started noticing this pattern everywhere. The loudest people weren't always winning. The busiest people weren't always succeeding. The hardest workers weren't always getting ahead. For years, Alex had assumed effort automatically created results. Now he was beginning to understand something uncomfortable. Effort only matters when it's pointed in the right direction. Running faster doesn't help if you're running the wrong way. Climbing harder doesn't help if your ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. And for the first time in his life, Alex stopped asking how hard he could work. He started asking whether the work mattered at all. That question changed everything. Because here's the biggest lie about hard work. The lie isn't that hard work doesn't matter. It does. Nothing meaningful gets built without effort. The real lie is that hard work alone is enough. That the hardest worker wins. That effort is the thing that matters most. It isn't. Think about it. One person spends 10 hours digging a hole. Another spends 1 hour operating a machine. Who creates more value? The market doesn't reward effort. The market rewards value. And those are not the same thing. Alex didn't understand this. But his coworker Mark did. Mark left work at 5. He took lunch breaks. He didn't answer emails at midnight. He wasn't lazy. He was selective. While Alex spent extra hours doing more work, Mark spent extra hours learning skills. Negotiation, communication, systems, problem solving, things that made him harder to replace. 5 years later, Alex checked LinkedIn. Mark had been promoted again. His salary was nearly double. Alex stared at the screen because he had worked thousands more hours and somehow ended up behind. That was the moment he realized something. Hard work is a commodity. Millions of people are willing to work hard. Millions are willing to stay late. Millions are willing to sacrifice sleep. That's not rare. Judgment is rare. Knowing what matters is rare. Knowing what to ignore is rare. And that's what gets rewarded. Then Alex discovered a second lie. The belief that if he just worked hard enough, one day he would finally be free. Just one more project, one more promotion, one more year. Then life would get easier. But it never did. Because every reward created more responsibility. Every promotion created more pressure. Every achievement raised the bar. He wasn't moving toward freedom. He was moving toward burnout. That's when Alex made 3 decisions. The first was simple. Stop saying yes to everything. Every time he said yes to something unimportant, he was saying no to something important. So he became selective. His workload dropped. His impact increased. The second decision was even stranger. He stopped measuring productivity by hours. Most people think more hours equals more results. It doesn't. Energy creates results. Focus creates results. Attention creates results. Exhaustion creates mistakes. Alex started protecting his energy. Better sleep, better health, fewer distractions, less busy work. And something surprising happened. He got more done in 40 hours than he used to get done in 70. The third decision changed everything. He stopped working for approval. For years, he wanted everyone to think he was hardworking. His boss, his coworkers, his friends. But approval never created freedom. Value did. So he stopped asking, how do I look productive? And started asking, how do I create value? That question changed his career. Because valuable people are difficult to replace. And difficult to replace people have options. 2 years later, Alex wasn't the hardest worker anymore. But he was earning more, working less, sleeping better, feeling better. His life finally started expanding instead of shrinking. The strange part is that none of these changes looked dramatic from the outside. There was no viral success story, no overnight breakthrough, no moment where everything suddenly changed. Most days looked ordinary. Alex still worked. He still faced problems. He still had stressful weeks. But the direction was different. And direction matters more than speed. Because 2 people can work equally hard for 10 years and arrive in completely different places. One spends 10 years reacting. The other spends 10 years building. One spends 10 years solving today's problems. The other spends 10 years creating tomorrow's opportunities. At first, the difference is invisible. Then one day it becomes impossible to ignore. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a month, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. That realization became one of Alex's greatest advantages. He stopped chasing quick wins. He stopped looking for shortcuts. He stopped searching for secrets. Instead, he focused on becoming slightly more valuable each year. And year after year, those small improvements started compounding. Just like investments. Just like habits. Just like everything else that creates real success. And that's when he understood the truth. Hard work is not a strategy. It's a tool. A hammer is useful. But you wouldn't build an entire house using only a hammer. Yet that's exactly how most people approach their lives. Whenever something goes wrong, they work harder. Whenever progress slows, they work harder. Whenever they're stuck, they work harder. They're using the same tool for every problem and wondering why nothing changes. The people who get ahead aren't always the hardest workers. They're the people asking better questions. What skill creates the most value? What problem is worth solving? What can be automated? What can be delegated? What can work without me? Because freedom doesn't come from working harder. Freedom comes from building things that keep working when you're not. A valuable skill, a business system, an investment portfolio, a reputation. Those things continue producing results long after the work is done. And that's the part nobody teaches. Hard work can improve your life, but strategy changes your life. Somewhere tonight, someone is answering emails at 11 o'clock. They're telling themselves it will pay off. They're telling themselves they just need to push a little harder. Maybe they're right. Or maybe they're running on a treadmill someone else built. The biggest lie about hard work isn't that hard work doesn't matter. It's that hard work is the whole story. It's not. And the people who realize that never see work the same way again.